So first of all, thank you very much everyone for joining today's webinar on serveries, pantries, and organization solutions. As the title says, manage that clutter, okay? So just to give you a little high level, my name is Chris Bava. I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales for Lifestyles by Barons. We're gonna be going through a few important topics here today, ideally focusing on those three elements. Rick is gonna kick us off once we get through this introduction, talking about the current reality with COVID and how that affects design build companies. Ultimately, the big reality on how that affects home design and how having that great home design can really carry you through times where, such as these, where you're stuck at home, and just to make sure that you're managing clutter, flow of the household, making sure that everyone's comfortable in their own space. After that, we're going to be handing it off to Gordon Barron. He's the president of Lifestyles by Barons. He will be talking about serveries, and then after that, we're going to be going into more of an educational moment, talking about two previous jobs that Lifestyles by Barons has accomplished. We'll be focusing on Shady Lawn project as well as the Pomona project, showing you highlights of today's topic. And then we will close off going into the loft of our Lifestyles showroom, our design center, showing you what you can do with that kind of extra space to make it a multifunctional, multi-purpose space there. So again, thanks everyone for joining. We had a webinar. It was our first one last Wednesday. It was our first ever webinar, and it actually went smoothly, which was fantastic. No logistical ends on my end. I take care of the logistics for these webinars, but the feedback was phenomenal. We received numerous requests to get the recorded copy, and as Gord said, it's on YouTube and it's on our website there. And for everyone here today, we'll be sending out the link as well so people can review if there's certain moments or certain highlights that they'd like to discuss or revisit with families and friends. So again, with Corona, we sincerely do hope that everyone's staying safe, staying inside, trying not to be bored, stuck at home, but we truly do hope that everyone and their families are doing well. I'm just letting in two more people just signed in. Okay, perfect, they're in now. All right, so normally what a few of our past clientele are used to is a tour of home program, and that tour of home program has been operated for about 27 years, where we bring the general public, hundreds of people, to a past project to highlight design, the functionalities of the home, and everything through and through Lifestyles, the craftsmanship and the design. Again, we're apologizing we can't do that, but due to COVID, we're all stuck inside. So we're excited to launch these Lunch and Learn series. With this one here focusing on the serveries, there will be two more throughout the month of May. Next week, we'll be focusing on bathrooms, spa bath experience. And then we'll be having a fourth one following by a surprise fifth one that we'll be announcing later on. So I'd like everyone just to note here that given with the tour of homes, we're used to having 40, 50, 60 people in at a time. Given that our decor center is now up and running, just please note it is in the finishing stages still, just due to businesses being shut down around us. We're just focused on ultimately trying to complete that once other businesses, our business partners, open up. So you may see some things like temporary blinds, etc., a few missing elements, but all the highlights are there. We are starting to book consults. In fact, we do have a backlog going with our consults so that when we are resuming business, and we've been hearing some grumblings in the industry that we'll be resuming business or so in a month's time. So we're just getting prepared. We're booking consults in the queue. So if it is something that you'd be interested in, I'll be sharing my contact details. At least we can get you in the queue. Unfortunately, we can't commit to all as we especially get back into business, as there will be a backlog, but we'll try our best to make sure that we get everyone in time. So Lifestyles by Barons is still doing consults. Our construction is on hold at the moment just due to Corona, just to make sure we're focusing on safety for friends and family as well as our clients and for employees as well. Just two more things I'd like to go over before we get started. There's a chat function. So for those that are used to Zoom, at the bottom, there is a chat function that you can just hit the chat button and you can type in your questions. Once we formally get started here and I hand off to Rick, I'll be muting everyone so that there's no interference. Feel free, by all means, this is meant to be your time as well to get as much value as possible in this webinar. Type your questions away. I'll continue to monitor that chat box. So if anything comes up that needs Gord or Rick's attention or my attention right away, I'll pause the presentation and then we'll address it. If not, we're opening up a formal Q&A session after this webinar. We're looking to finish this webinar around 1 o'clock, but we'll be sure to make sure that anyone that has any questions, we're not on a time limit. We'll stay on until everyone's questions have been addressed. So with all that being said, I'd like to formally introduce Rick Incio. He comes with over 12 years of experience in the industry. He's been with Lifestyles by Barons for many years. And at this point, I'd like to hand it off to Rick.
Hi, everyone. So thank you once again for being here today. We appreciate spending time with you guys. As Chris said, I've been with the company for over 12 years now. And I'm going to be talking to you today about COVID and its implications on our daily life, just very briefly. Obviously, as a business, it's affecting us in the sense that, like many other businesses right now, our business is paused. But it's also affecting us socially in the sense.
Oh, I think we might have lost Rick's. So, sorry, Rick. You you cut out there for a second.
Did you hear me though?
No, just to begin. If you could just repeat the last two sentences.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to be talking to you in regards to COVID and how it's affecting our lives right now. And as I was saying, on a business sense, it's affecting us in the sense that businesses are paused right now. Not only ours, but many other businesses. On a social sense, it's affecting us in the sense that the part about the business that most of us or all of us in the company like is interacting with our clients, with our subs, with our business partners, distributors on a daily basis. And obviously, because of social distancing, that's not happening. So even though it's affecting us right now, COVID is going to have implications that are going to be carried forward into the future, in the sense that the way that you interact with people going forward is going to be affected, but also the way that you interact with your surrounding environment and your spaces is going to be affected. And as well, obviously, different sectors are going to feel the implications of that. So I'm going to go through one of those sectors, which is the construction sector, and how COVID is going to be affecting the way that people look at renovations, as an example, going forward, or the way that they look at building a new home, some of the things that people are going to put more focus on in the future. So, Chris, if you can put
up to his slide, There we go.
So implications of COVID in construction. So what kind of things are we going to see? Obviously, there's going to be a lot. These are just a few of them. There's going to be a lot more emphasis on clean surfaces in the home. So people are going to be paying more attention to their countertops, their flooring, surfaces that are antibacterial, things that are easy to clean. You're going to see a lot more people doing backgrounds on the type of surfaces that are going into their home. Another thing is modifications of open concept. So open concept is not going to go away. It's something that people really like in the sense that open concept allows a lot more natural light into the home. It makes the home look a lot larger. It makes it a lot easier for entertaining purposes also. But people are going to be thinking about their home in the spaces in a different way. So being able to separate work and home life are something that is going to be very important. Right now, obviously, there's more and more people working from home, and it's something that's not going to go away. If anything, it's going to push that even more now that we've been at home for such a long time. So working from home, what we used to call the home office, is going to be more like the office at home. Space that's specifically for working instead of actually your daily life, so that you can actually get away from your home life and have a space that is just for you to work. Likewise, increasing of schooling and learning from home. So obviously what we're doing right now, these webinars, I think it's something that is going to stay around for a lot longer. People are enjoying the webinars. We're able to reach a lot more people in more timely fashion this way. So I think webinars are going to be increasing in the future. Even schooling from home. So as an example, my daughter right now on a daily basis logs into a website, gets her homework, gets her assignments. She's got certain days during the week that the teacher actually requests the kids to actually log in so that she can actually talk to all of them. So once this is all done, I think that learning from home is going to start increasing too, where parents can actually log into certain websites and get information about their kids. So in a sense, more and more spaces in the home are going to become multi-purpose. As an example, your large kitchen island now becoming the place where you can work, where kids can do homework, a lot of different spaces in the home, or maybe a desk somewhere in the house where when you're not working can actually convert to something where it looks beautiful and doesn't look like a desk on a regular day. But there's also with that going to be more increase of automation from in the house. So more people wanting surround sound music that you can basically click a button and have in any room. So with more and more people cocooning in the home right now, their requirements going forward are going to change, because right now you're starting to realize, yeah, it'd be great if I had this or if I had that in the house, especially if you're going to be working more from home. With all of this also comes now people thinking about power requirements in the house. Nobody thought that COVID or something like this could actually happen. People are starting to question things a little bit more. So the event of your power going out and staying out for longer periods of time is something that people are starting to think, yeah, that is a possibility. So people are starting to think of generators. They're thinking about solar heating, ways of making the home more self-efficient. And so in the whole, people are thinking of their home now more of as a sanctuary, a place that you can come and get away from everything else, a place where you can actually be and have specific spaces in the house where you can isolate yourself from everyone else, or you can work, or you can entertain, or have space with the family. With this feeling of sanctuary, people are looking more at bringing natural elements into the house too, with spending more time at home. So more plants, more natural light. This is something that a lot of these things are actually things that Lifestyles as a company, we've been doing for a very long time. If you've been following us, if you've had work done by us, you know that natural light is extremely important in the home for us. Large windows, skylights, functional spaces, very important for us. You're going to see a little bit more color come into interior decor also. Although the earth colors and the earth tones are something that are always going to be relevant in the house. With people spending more time at home right now, you're going to see more people wanting a bit more color being introduced into the house. So at the end of all this, increase of storage requirements in the home. Where are you going to put your 100 rolls of toilet paper? Where are you going to put your 200 cans of beans? So all of this has made people look at their home in different ways going forward. And what we're going to concentrate on today is this increased storage requirement in the form of pantries and serveries, which are rooms that take a lot of pressure away from the kitchen. And Gordon's going to go into much more detail on these. So go ahead, Gordon.
Okay, Chris, if you could just flip to the next slide. Always a starting point is, what was the space beforehand? So one thing we're seeing, and it's not a trend, it's here to stay here. Last 27 years at time of doing this webinar here, we're seeing the dining room function. It's extremely important, but it's been shifting. So what's been happening is the home has to have a dining room, but you'll notice in this picture, the before picture of the home, lifestyle home here, the living room was at the front. Now in design, quite often the dining room is now a multi-purpose, and it's shifting more to the front of the home. So if you look at that space there, the pantry and servery design that we have just completed uses only 30% of the original dining room. We've reclaimed space from the hall, and we've actually taken the vast majority of what was the dining room and redeployed it to the kitchen. Chris, if you can do the next slide. The reason for that is the kitchen has to be multifunctional. So as you can see, that was the original dining room space that we had in our center, which is now completely changed. Now, think about it. We've taken 30% of that space, converted it to the pantry and servery, and here's the reality. We've created 300 to 400% more storage and counter space in the pantry and servery than the entire original kitchen. Now, if you look back over our last 27 years, we've been doing this over and over and over again, and it continues to evolve and continues to change. But if you look at the before there, you can see that very traditional configuration. You'll see in a lot of homes, there's a lot of wasted space, a lot of space devoted to hallways. As an example, we've actually taken as much of that space and tried to turn it into usable space. So if you see where that window is, the window location has not changed. The window location is still in the same location in the new design, but now what we've done is we've incorporated a pantry. And once again, the pantry and servery takes about 30 to 35% of the original dining room. the rest of that space was redeployed to the kitchen, and we addressed that on the last kitchen and design webinar. So at this point, we're going to walk you through and try and give you as many tips from a standpoint of things that you can think about when you're designing your own pantries, your own serveries. And as Rick alluded to, in our changing world, the need for storage, the need for capacity is greater than ever, but it doesn't necessarily mean making things bigger. It's about how do we use space more wisely. So let's actually do the great reveal. This is just one part of the lifestyle decor set.
Just bear with us, guys, as we just transfer over devices. Okay. Just connecting with Gord's with the iPhone there, so we can. Sorry for the delay here, folks. Okay, perfect. You're on there, Rick.
My face, or?
Yes, it's your face.
Sorry, I can't see it on the phone here, so I don't know what I'm recording right now. Okay.
Well, we can see it
There
very
we
clearly.
go. All right, guys.
So welcome to our new Servery. We're exceptionally proud of this design here. So let's explain some of the rationale for this space. And remember, we're using about 30 to 35% of the original dining room. So a very small footprint of space. Now, if you take a look here, we've actually taken some of the original hall, but this is a very significant amount of space we've created. Now, this has multiple purposes. In reality, this could be the buffet when you're doing a lot of entertaining. Or if it's just a couple, maybe it's that wine and cheese event, special night, or I hate to say the husband's kitchen. It is actually designed to function as its own entity when everything's said and done, but it has to support. Typically, good design would have a pass-through. So you'll notice that it passes through from the kitchen, goes right through, and goes right out to potentially the dining room. So it's serving multiple purposes, but it's all about capacity and wow factor. So for example, typically we use a pocket door, and I'll go into more explanation on that. We can't always do that. The day of the dining room buffet hutch, it's gone. We just don't see it coming back into designs. That's something to keep in mind. But people always have those family heirlooms. So a little quick history here. My mom, still with us, she's 91. They were her grandparents' dishes. So they have some sentiment, and every family has that. So we're estimating they're about 150 to 160 years old. So those are things that you're still gonna wanna showcase. So this is kind of replacing the buffet hutch that we used to all have, which we're really seeing disappear. In fact, we've done over 200 custom homes to date. We can't even give to Habitat for Humanity the buffets and hutches, but people still have those requirements. So if you look at it from a design perspective, we've overloaded this. There's no question we've overloaded this, but we're trying to show capacity as to what it will physically hold. If you take a look at this servery here and then pantry, view them as two completely separate elements here, we have 300 to 400% more capacity than the original kitchen. So if you think about it in simple terms, statistically, you're using about 24 inches here, you're using about 3 feet here. They'll have some framing, but anywhere from 15 to 18 inches here. It's using a very small amount of space, but providing a tremendous amount of functionality. So let's look at some of the details here. And we're always trying to improve. We're always trying to come up with more creative ideas. So this is an example of using every square inch. So even under the kick, as an example, we've created hidden storage. Now, we have been recently doing this, and clients are actually hiding valuables and things of that nature. As this becomes more common, they may not be hiding valuables. But as you can see, from a storage capability, people always have things that they don't use every single day, but things that they need a home for. So this shows you the relentless focus on detail and to what level we're actually attempting to go to. Here's another thing here. Typically, if you look at a base cabinet in the builder grade home, you'll see a quarter shelf. Helpful tip here, quarter shelf means 75% of that cabinet is not usable, or you have to dig through that cabinet to get to things. So we're always trying to show new and improved things. We absolutely love this. So this is an actual solution here that is basically a pot garage caddy system. So for example, it holds, it's holding 5 full parts. That's a full steamer, so that's quite large in capacity. Then we've got 2 full-size pots. Then we've got all the cookie trays, and then we've got frying pans. So you think of how much is actually in that space. It really is substantial. And this is all engineered, so it's meant for durability. It's meant to last. So when you're designing your pantry serveries, think about how is that space going to be used? You know, how can we get the maximum bang for the buck as far as the space? Here's another thing. This is one of the areas we can break the rules. So if you take a look at this wall here, typically in a kitchen, we would not recommend grout installations, simply because tomato sauce, cooking oils simply don't go well with grout. But you want something timeless and beautiful. We are a big fan of natural products. Now, we do use man-made products as well, depending on the client. But this is an example of a natural product. It's timeless, it's beautiful. It does become a feature element. I wish you could feel it. It's weathered, extremely smooth. It's got a texture. It's giving you the illusion that we happen to build this servery around this old feature wall, for lack of better terms, an old kind of brick wall. You want to give it some character. You want to give it some warmth. Once again, when you cut stone out of a mountain, you can't say it's an 80 or 90. It's timeless. So really an exciting product. So let's take a look at a few other functional elements. So for example, typically we will put a fridge in here, and it makes an awful lot of sense. So this is a design we're doing more and more and more of. So you can see the capacity here is absolutely huge. If you're entertaining and you want a shelf setup or you want trays set up, it's all there, simple, fast, and quick. And with the advent of people buying in greater quantities, it's nice if you've got a spot for these things. There's a very simple example. Here's another example that's a helpful tip that you may want to think about. We do serveries that we call our non-functional, which means they have no cooking capability. That represents less than 20% of our client base. There's a place for them. It depends on what the consumer is actually trying to achieve. Typically, we will recommend the actual built-ins because it allows it to be fully functional. Now, we're using this obviously as an office. This gets used every single day. But the advantage of this configuration is coffee instantly, be it a latte, coffee, and a home application, absolutely fantastic. The other advantage and kind of useful tip to consider here is the moment you do this type of configuration, you're using full cubic capacity. So it dramatically increases capacity as far as storage. This has all been customized, but we all have these ridiculously oversized things that you have to have, but where do they all go? All right. So with a certain degree of customization, and these are, typically very awkward things, but with good design, you're using the full capacity. These things would typically swallow up storage capability, but by designing it in such a fashion, and there has been custom work that's gone into this, that truly is allowing you to get multiple bang for your buck. Here's another application that we use quite a bit. It's that second oven. Now, design-wise, when we're designing, you want to make sure you've got potentially, obviously, the basics. So this is a convection oven, but it also can be a steam oven. Advantage of this configuration is it allows you to keep all of the food that you may be preparing completely warm and completely moist. Now, we're going to save this for another day because it can get into a lot of detail here, but think about application here. Let's just get this to turn on. There we go. This can be used for many, many different things. So let's just we'll bring this up here. Okay, lift panel. I'm a little taller, so I prefer to look at it a little higher. So for example, if you're not comfortable with cooking and it's not your normal kind of mode of operation, this will literally prompt you through literally any of the operations. So for example, if you want to do surround or you want to do combination or steam, it will literally prompt you through. Or if you want to actually figure out from a cooking perspective, chicken or whatever the case may be, or a quiche, it will literally have a menu and walk you through all those different settings. So for example, you would simply, and it just gets more and more granular. So it prompts you through. So incredibly useful from that perspective. And it's something that's incredibly efficient from an energy efficiency standpoint. Something we do recommend. Typically, as I said, we're either looking at a steam oven, convection oven, combination, and or microwave. Once again, back to that cubic capacity rule here. As you can see, the amount of capacity here is significant, absolutely significant. Organization solutions. So something as simple as this, and we're actually very proud of this. We actually tend to do an awful lot of tea in our offices here. And for the tea connoisseur, this really is giving you the experience
of choosing what tea you want on any given day. So that's a bit of customization here, but that's something that's really handy. And when you have all this capacity and all this storage, you can actually do these things. Even simple solutions like this. So for example, the handy wrap, the foil, the things that you're typically digging through, literally pull it out and it's there. It's instant from that perspective. As you can see, the organization solutions, that's something we'd really have to do in person, but as you can see, they're extensive and there's a whole bunch of different options. So let's just do a quick recap. Servery, we've used an incredibly small amount of space here, if you think about it. 24 inches, which is absolutely nothing. This is functioning as the buffet. It's functioning as the wine and cheese. It is functioning as a second kitchen. So it has multiple purposes, but the storage capability is absolutely huge. If you combine that with the pantry and you compare our first kitchen, we're anywhere from 300 to 400% more capacity. You're thinking, where's that capacity coming from? The pantries. We've been doing this at the time of this lunch and learn. We're in 27 years of operation. We've been doing this since the beginning, but now it's becoming more and more relevant and more important. So this is an example of a lifestyle pantry. So obviously we've staged this in light of what's going on in the world today, but the capacity of this is absolutely huge. You could literally run for 4 or 5 months a typical family without even thinking about any safety issues from a standpoint of food. And unfortunately, it is a reality in our world, and it now makes even more sense. Now you're probably thinking, okay, well, you're 6'5", you're the presenter, great. I'm not that tall. You'll notice we've got a steel beam here. We have ladders that literally, they're decorative ladders, but functional, that literally move all the way through the decor center. So little tip, when you're actually designing, try and think about application before even design. So here's a few little tips here that you really want to consider. We've loaded this almost like you would see in a commercial environment or what you would see in a store. Now that is a significant amount of weight. I can assure you, if you ran with what you would see in a typical home construction would be a single MDF board, that board would bow. Not only that, it would cause too much structural stress on the structure itself. So if you're heading down this pathway, make sure whoever you're working with, this all has to be seriously reinforced. So everything structured on either side has been reinforced. Let me point out something as well. You'll notice that when we open the doors, lights went on. Now, when you have this much content, this is something new we've started doing. There's so much content here. In the past, we used to have to light the ceiling, which made a heck of a lot of sense. But now that we've got so much content that is actually being physically stored here, we've actually run lighting solutions that run from the floor to the ceiling, which are tripped with a laser. So they're using virtually no energy at the end of the day, but it allows you to see the contents. Because quite frankly, if you can't see what's in here, it's a challenge. Also, another tip from a design perspective, make sure when you're designing your pantries, a lot of people make the mistake of making them closet depth. Now, closet depth in the industry is typically about 24 inches inside measurement. The problem with that is you'll have to dig through everything. It becomes completely non-functional and unusable. A few other little tips that may be helpful for people when they're thinking about good design practices. Typically, any builder, if you look at any builder-grade home, you're going to see a big door versus 2 doors. The reason for that is it's less millwork, less finishing, easier for them to do. Now think about it. If this was a full door swinging this way, yes, it would open, but it would make passing through this space extremely difficult. So if we take a look here, you'll notice here, typically what we're doing is double door configuration. So we've gone from dry goods, for lack of better terms. This is obviously a center here, or a design center, but we're just trying to show capacity. The capacity here is absolutely huge. If you look at this small space, and once again, let's do the math here. We're about 30 to 35% of the dining room we've sacrificed, which we've redeployed elsewhere in the home, but we've gained 300 to 400% more capacity than what we had originally. So it's something to really think about. Now, over our last 27 years, we haven't had one client that hasn't been utterly thrilled. Feedback we've had over the years is that the servery/pantry has become one of the favorite parts of the home. So here's another example. As you can see, we've adjusted the shelf size, but everybody has things that they use but don't use all the time. So little tip here, when you're designing this, make sure the things that are going to service the kitchen be closest to the kitchen. As you can see, we pass literally through the servery right to the kitchen. So the high use items are over there. Another little tip here that's useful. We don't want to block light. So you'll notice the use of transoms. We use them a lot in design, okay? So because we have the window there, we introduced the transom there. To architecturally make things work, we then extended the height of the doors. Those are custom doors. But as you can see, it also allows for full and complete access. So that's a quick run through of the design elements that we've actually done on our pantry and servery. We're really excited about this. This is entirely new, and we're just in the process of releasing this at this point. This is not how we planned to release this place, but with the advent of COVID, we had to adapt.
Just a couple of things, Gord, because I saw a couple of questions coming through. Someone asked about a dishwasher in the servery, and many times we actually do place a dishwasher in the servery. It really depends on the client. It depends on the space also. So if you're not doing cooking in the servery, then obviously you most likely wouldn't need a dishwasher unless the servery is in a space that's farther from the kitchen or even in a basement. So we can obviously here in the decor center, we do have already some dishwasher displays. So we're trying to use as much space as we can for storage facilities and things like that.
A few other tips on the dishwasher. We have had clients that have put dishwashers in, and it all depends on lifestyle. So for example, larger homes, multi-generational, whatever the case may be, or if they entertain a lot. So we have done that. Strong recommendation. If you do elect to put a dishwasher in, which can make sense, completely camouflage. Okay, so for example, the way we would do this is you take a look at this and this and this. A perfect way of camouflaging that dishwasher is literally having those panels grouped together, they're doweled together. It doesn't scream dishwasher.
Actually, I can show that right here in the kitchen. So if you notice the kitchen, this is the dishwasher right here, completely paneled and fully accessible with all of the controls on the very top here.
And that's a single panel configuration. I would recommend a double or triple panel configuration because the servery does have to have a design element to it. So we're really trying to take away the utilitarian look if we can. I'll show you one other thing that is also very useful. We've been doing this a lot. It's fairly recent. It's something new we've introduced. We like to think it's lifestyles. Typically, you have that panel running across the top here, which is simply to hide the sink here. We're inverting it, okay? So what we're doing is we're taking the panel to the bottom. The advantage is it's giving you full capacity in here into this space, full access. But the real bonus here is then you get this bonus drawer, okay? And now remember, we have hidden drawers all the way underneath this, under the kick, if you recall. So every inch of this we're trying to make work. A few other things I'll share with you here while we're here. We showed this in the last one. There was a lot of interest. Typically in a servery pantry, this is an area that you're going to spill things. Okay, the advantage of this solution here is you literally do this and it connects to your central vac solution here and you turn around like this. And you can literally, clean up whatever method you may happen to have. And you're putting it away and literally this easy. We've got lots of those different types of solutions. While we're in this space, I'll just show you a few other elements, little tips that may be useful for people when they're designing. You want something timeless. Now, this is supposed to give you the illusion of an old pump tap, for lack of better terms. And then we've done a beautiful kind of rustic looking sink. Remember, this is not a high use area here. So you don't want a stainless steel sink here. What we've done here is, think about it. You could fill this with ice. You could fill it with wine bottles, instant party. Okay, so it's just trying to design in a very creative aspect. A few other things that are important to show you from a design perspective. I'm going to turn the lights off for a moment. Lighting is exceptionally important, and I can't even stress how important that is. So if you take a look at our lighting design here, as we actually go through this, you'll notice with Lifestyles, you can just touch the cabinets, it turns on the actual glass lights. The glass lights are gorgeous, and strongly consider those in your design. We actually have a light channel behind the glass. We've actually sandblasted the glass so you don't see that dot, dot, dot. I wish you could see this at night because it absolutely is a stunning detail for you to actually illuminate what's in the cabinets. We also recommend controlling everything individually. So for example, we have our task lighting, as you can see, which is going up and down. And then we have our in-cabinet lighting. We'll save this for another day where we're looking for feedback from people, but we have a whole automation system that deals to manage and control all these elements. That's a whole separate entity. We'll share that for another day. At this point, what I'm going to do is actually run us upstairs. We're going to be discussing two homes that we recently finished, which is the Pomona Residence and the Shady Lawn Residence. We're thrilled. We have exceptional relationships with our clients. They had no idea we were going to be showing their homes, but I'm really delighted to say that they're actually on the call, which is really kind of nice to actually see some returning clients here. So what we're going to be trying to do is say why we did what we did to their homes, once again from an educational standpoint, and then we're going to show you a smaller version of this that we created up in our loft.
So before we leave the space, just a quick mention that in this case, we deleted the dining room and we actually gained half of the space into the new kitchen and obviously a portion of the space to this servery. And many homes, what happens is we use different spaces like a living room if people aren't using that as much, and we create pantries and serveries between the kitchen and the dining room so that you've got access to both. As you can see here, this space connects directly into the kitchen. And in this case, we actually made this kitchen so that it was acted partially as a dining room and a kitchen combined. So as you can see, we have full access from the kitchen onto both sides of the servery, which as an example, when you're having a party is fantastic because you can literally lay all of your food here. People can come through, serve, and go out the other door. Or you can literally leave all the food here and the kitchen is always, always clean. The other fantastic thing about this is, as you can see, this is not a huge space. You've got 24 inches here. You've got about 3 feet in the center. And these pantries, by the way that we've designed them, are only about 15 inches each, which means you're not digging through everything to get through all of your food items. It's all there and easily accessible.
I'll just clarify one last point. Rick just said 50%, just as a point of clarity here. It was actually 30%
Yep.
we reclaimed from the hall. So think about it. We took 30% of space that was devoted to a dining room. As I said, the space is available in the living room. And in reality, we gained 300 to 400% more space than what we had previously. Before we leave this area, I'll give you one other little tip, something you should consider. Yes, we do use man-made products, but we're still a fan of some of the natural. We were delighted with this material here. This material, what was inspiring the design here is, think about a warm cup of coffee and or a cappuccino. You want something that's going to be timeless and relevant years to come. So Mother Nature does a stunning job here. This is a natural product. And once again, strong recommendations. Our learnings over the years is if you mix natural products with man-made products, one will trend right out very quickly, and typically it's the man-made product. So we don't like changing our displays because frankly there's some significant cost every time we redo them. I think this one's here to stay. I think this will be a long-term display. So at this point we're going to take you up.
I think there's
just to give you guys a heads up. Oh, I was just going to say, just to give you guys a heads up, a 15-minute warning to 1 o'clock, 1:45 right now. Just another question from let's see, Mancini here, wondering why the cabinets wouldn't go to the ceiling.
Okay, excellent question. So if we take in the cabinets to the ceiling, and actually, Chris, what I'm going to ask you to do is, there was a lot of interest in this lunch and learn session, so let's extend this bridge because we will definitely time out. Okay, excellent question. So if you go home and take a look at any builder home, which is the vast majority of, from any of the builder homes, you will see bulkheads going right to the ceiling and or cabinets going right to the ceiling. Typically, it's a bulkhead going to the ceiling. The reason they do that is drywall is infinitely cheaper than cabinets, and typically the cabinets wouldn't be as high. We did remove the bulkheads. If you recall, there were bulkheads in the original dining room, which was that cove ceiling here. We wanted to give the illusion of height. Now, if you look here, we've got a recessed ceiling here. So by creating step on step on step, it actually adds drama. Now there's a whole lighting package, which is a whole other lunch and learn here. And there's a whole automation in the ceiling. But the reason we didn't take it to the top is it allowed for uplighting. So when you add uplighting and you're illuminating this natural, beautiful material, it does create a wow factor. It also tends to reflect light. So by having the uplighting and it's reflecting on the ceiling, it really helps the distribution of light. So there's a lot of practical reasons why we do it, but typically a builder does the opposite. Typically the cabinet would go to the ceiling, or more typically because they want to reduce the cabinet heights. These are taller cabinets than what you would normally see. They would put in a bulkhead. They will tell you that it's all full of HVAC. HVAC, which is plumbing and heating. Typically, our learnings over 200 custom homes later, 15 to 20% have anything in them, okay? The vast majority do not. Any other questions there, Chris?
No, nothing at this time.
Okay, please keep in mind too that this being the Lifestyle's home, we are showing different things. So we've got displays here where the cabinets go directly to the ceiling. I'd like to show you in the kitchen, we've got cabinets that are going directly to the ceiling, but they've got lid options on top. So we're showing different applications here because obviously everyone has different requirements for their home. So as you're walking through here, you are going to see cabinets at different heights, and we're showing you different applications throughout.
And to do full justice to this question here, if you step things as you see we're doing here, it does create architectural interest. And the last lunch and learn on kitchen design here, these hold a tremendous amount of storage. And based on the fact that we were dealing with full 24 inches, we didn't want to lose that space. Whereas what you're seeing in this Servery is only 13 inches. So it made sense to do that design. So thank you for that question. So at this point, we're going to take you up to the Lifestyle Loft. Chris is going to show you on the screen what that space was before. It will just take us a minute to get up to the loft. It was a completely unfinished space.
Okay, all right. So I'm just going to end up showing everyone that before picture. Just give me a moment and I can share my screen. All right, perfect. Everyone should be seeing the before picture of what an attic looked like. I'm pretty sure all of us have seen or looked into our attics, and we've seen very similar pictures, you know, shoving Christmas boxes up there, a bunch of plywood, bunch of insulation. And we're just going to give Gord there and Rick an opportunity to get upstairs.
We're starting with it. No, we're starting with the training session. So let's see what's going on.
Okay, yeah, we just got you, Gord, on the iPhone there.
Okay, Chris, if you could switch to my computer, please.
Okay, perfect. Just give me a moment. Okay, your computer should be coming up now. I believe it just needs to connect to audio. Sorry, Gord, we're not able to hear you. You might need to just connect your audio to the Zoom call.
There we go.
Perfect. I'm just gonna.
Sorry, folks, we're just transitioning to different technologies here.
Okay, perfect. It sounds all good now.
Beautiful. So folks, as you can see, it was a typical attic. Now, once again, don't be intimidated by what you see here in the lunch and learns here. Obviously, we're trying to show design excellence and application excellence. So this was a typical attic, which means unusable space. And we're going to go into that in a few minutes. But as you can see in the backdrop here behind me, it's far from unusable space now. It's quite different. But to focus back on pantries and serveries, let's actually put up, if we can, let's start with the Shady Lawn site.
Okay.
So this was Debbie and George's home. And when we actually met with Debbie and George, we had recommended a servery, pantry, and I remember the conversation extremely well. The client's perception was there's absolutely no way we could fit that into this home. It just physically wouldn't fit. And I remember in that meeting, we were saying where that pink sofa is where the servery actually belongs. And interesting enough, Debbie went on what we call the Tour of Home program and actually saw, I think it was the Pomona Residence. And she came back and she's like, find a way. All right. So we were excited. Our design teams really got excited as to, it doesn't have to be a large space. If it's a small space, you have to be just more creative. You have to be more focused in the design to how do you make it work. Chris, if you can move to the next slides. So we took a very small portion of what was the living room, the back of the living room, and we started to show the client, hey, this is our vision of what that space could look like. And you'll see some common elements to what we just showed you in our decor center. Can you go to the next slide? Now, in their case, we actually went from 7.5-foot ceilings to almost 18-foot ceilings. So there was a chance to create a real wow. But basic learnings here is there's certain building blocks that are tried and proven. So once again, in that case, we took old reclaimed brick, and we wanted to give the illusion, once again, that we're building. Remember, you want to ground it. From a design perspective, it's a feature element that should be timeless, shouldn't trend in, trend out. So if we can go to what we actually delivered, Chris. So as you can see, quite a difference from that living room picture of what we originally started with, okay? So same sort of design excellence that we just showed you at the decor center, a little smaller scale because these things have to scale to the space that you're physically working in, and a slightly different design element, but same building blocks for lack of better terms. Next slide. As you can see, there's that transition. It's just really important. If you do it in a place in the home that's non-functional, doesn't connect to anything, it doesn't serve any purpose. So this literally transitions right from their dining room to the kitchen, and right beside it is their living room solarium feeling. Next slide, please. As you can see, there's the transition. So good design elements, sure, they have to be all custom to the space, but you get the bones, and you'll see the feature element there. The feature element was the reclaimed brick that was used, and it's a timeless element that won't trend in, trend out. So let's show you a different configuration. So if we can move to what is called the Pomona Residence, which was Rick and Justine's residence. This was the starting point. Now, this is extremely typical, the starting point. They had this huge living room, which was a lot of wasted space with the dining room at the end. Now, this one's a bit more complicated because in their case, we did a different configuration. We did a standalone pantry, which makes a lot of sense, and then a standalone servery, but it's all connected. So you see, and Justine's an artist. You see on the left side where you see that large artwork on the back left corner there, that's where the servery now lives in their home. And if you look on the right side, draw in your imaginary mind, draw an L for lack of better terms. So you've got down the one side on the left side is the servery, and then it does a 90-degree turn, which acts as a pantry. So let's actually show what was actually delivered. It's the same concepts. So as you can see, quite a difference. And there's an example of a pocket door. We don't always have the space for the pocket door. If you look right at the beginning of that picture, you'll see the pocket door configuration. If we can get it in, if the space will allow for it, there's all sorts of clearance issues, and often we're dealing with electrical and plumbing issues, but this is design allowed for it. So what happens here is they can transition from the kitchen through the servery. This is an example of a non-functional servery, but at the end of the day, and we just mean it doesn't have cooking capability, that was not a requirement for the client. They had a beautiful gourmet kitchen right in front of it. So next slide, please. That's showing you backing it up. This is a bit more transitional, bordering on contemporary in design, a bit more modern. You'll notice that the stone, once again, natural products. This is actually a chiseled and then a smooth, really a beautiful design element. And it actually follows on the walls and on the servery. So it's a nice element. Next slide. And that's just showing you the connection back to the kitchen from that perspective. So it just shows you how those, they flow, and there's been a huge demand for those. And with the advent of pressure on the environment, that storage capabilities are becoming even more important. Next slide. That's an interesting pantry. So in that case, it's all designed just for walk-in. Think of it almost as a dressing room, for lack of better terms, and you walk into it. That pantry flows directly behind all their built-ins in the kitchen. So they get huge, huge value out of that space. So let's go to the next slide, Chris. Okay, so we're now right back to our decor center. So once again, we had a completely unfinished space. Now, this is an example of a very small servery, but also an example of home office. Now, we're seeing increased demand with the world changing around us, that it could be multiple offices. It could be for both partners in the relationship, or even for kids. So let's take a look at what we actually delivered here.
Okay, I'm just going to transition.
Switch over to technology. Just bear with us for a moment.
Yeah, just give me one quick moment. It's just showing up. Okay, you guys should be joining very shortly.
Hi, Chris.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can, and we can see you clearly.
So Rick, if I can bring you along here. So we added this level here. Rick was talking about natural elements here. This is an example of natural elements. So this is a self-watering planter. It completely maintains itself at the end of the day. If you're going to go this level, make sure it is a watering one. You will not want to be watering it every day. So as you walk through here, this is an example of an exceptionally small Servery. Now we're very proud of this because if you can design in this space, that's something, because we're dealing with some really, I'm 6'5", we're dealing with some really awkward architectural elements here. Like basic tips that you may want to consider. Try to make sure, same as we showed in the kitchen learning session, try and make sure it's not just a flat panel down this side here. If you make your finished product look more like fine furnishings, it tends to not trend in and trend out. So we try and design around more of a furniture element, but it's never just about the look. It's also got to be about the application. So in our case here, these are touch to open, okay? So, and you'd be amazed what you can squirrel away into these spaces. So it really is about how do we use every little inch. The day of the magazines are going away, but quite frankly, there's other elements that can go in here. But once again, we're just trying to show different elements. Same basic building blocks and design. And once again, an incredibly small space we're working with here. In this case, we dropped the coffee machine down. If you want to have a latte, a cappuccino, tea, whatever the case may be. Same basic building blocks here, okay? So that gives you that oven capability, smaller scale than what we just showed you. Once again, designed to this space, but look at the cubic capacity. The cubic capacity is absolutely huge. And in this design, we've literally put the fridge directly underneath. Here's another little helpful tip that you may want to consider. Appliances, work with somebody very reputable here. It's never about buying all the appliances from one particular manufacturer. This has a beautiful feature. Not only is it super energy efficient, but it has a sensor. So as you walk into the space, it actually turns the light on, which means you can see where you're going without even turning on lights. Design-wise, so see the same basic building blocks we talked about. The capacity of this is huge. Look at how small that space is, but what it's actually supporting. You take a look over here, we've done this in many applications, something to think about, another kind of helpful little hint. We've actually built the drain board directly into the sink. Now this can scale up and scale down based on size. We showed you in the last lunch and learn here, we actually had boiling water for tea. This one is just simply reverse osmosis. You'll save a fortune on the plastic drinking bottles. So we strongly encourage that in design. To soften it and provide more storage capability, you'll see oversized shelves. Good design will replicate. We've carried the same finish, the same actual material species. We've stepped it down because we've tried to give some delineation. Once again, very small space here, but you've got full functional, recycling, waste management. This makes tremendous sense. It does show a tremendous amount of capacity, and look at how small this space is. And then for, you have to design the space. Statistically, in the province of Ontario, we're now at 500 square feet, the average residence, which is absolutely stunning when you think of how small that space is. Here you've got a simple home office application, literally tucked away, attached to a servery. So don't be limited by what space is currently. Don't be eliminated by lack of imagination. It's really how do you use the space and how to use it more effectively. So here you see we've created a home office application literally flowing off a servery, and this is considered a very informal space. And from a design perspective, this is an incredibly tricky space to work with. Same building blocks we talked about earlier. You recall, instead of that big drawer on the top, we tried to make it into capacity, something that can be used. Also, this is an example where we've actually used a man-made product, but we've once again carried natural product details. And you can see it works. This is not a high oil area. This is not a high cooking area. So with confidence, you can do this type of installation. But you can see by mixing this product here and mixing this product here, it doesn't all have to be the same. It actually flows and it works beautifully.
And once again, for cleanup purposes, there's actually two different solutions here. We do have the little vacuum as that is attached to the central vac, but another alternative is the sweep. So at the bottom here, what you have is another portion that's attached to the central vacuum, and literally all you do is you use your broom, you sweep, and it's exactly what it's called, a kick sweep. And you turn it on, and it basically sucks everything right into the canister. So you've got various solutions that you can put in very small, tight spaces if the main hose for the vacuum doesn't reach for the central vac.
So, Chris, are there questions on this portion of the Servery Pantry session?
No questions since last time. However, just a lot of nice comments from the attendees.
Okay, fantastic. So then at this point, we're going to wrap it up. Just want to relay on it, and I have to say this. We just came out of the Build Awards, and that in our industry, that's absolutely huge. It's not uncommon for a company to get 1 award or potentially even 2 awards. We actually took 5 of the 7 awards that we actually submitted for, which was absolutely huge, very significant. It ranged from one of the 3 best design build companies to creating the #1 space in the province, to actually the best spa bathroom, to the best basement. We were really flattered. Now it's ironic, we got all those awards, and normally that's up on the stage with the mayor, and this year we did it virtually, but it's the new reality. But we're very humbled and very honored to actually have received those. So if you would like, from a standpoint, the tour homes, they are changing significantly based on where we are globally. We are running them, but as we said, it will literally be 1 couple at a time. We will disinfect the center in between. We know we won't be able to accommodate everybody, so it's first in, first out sort of idea. Read the consults. Feel free to register. We're going to have the same problem as far as meeting people, so we'd urge people to register early, and we're happy to facilitate those. Rick, is there anything that you would like to add?
The only other thing is, and we mentioned this last time, we are known for a custom builder. We're pretty excited. First week of June, there has been a webinar that's been added where we're introducing a brand new program to the company that will basically focus more on anyone who's not looking to do structural work on their home and is basically looking to just give an update to the home. So we're going to go through that program on that week and talk about all the materials and the different details about that program.
If folks have topics that they're interested in learning more about, submit them into the customer care center. We've had a number of, that's what's been guiding some of the tours that have been going to this stage and the 4 that have already been scheduled. So also encourage you to share. We have not publicized this. So for example, if you have friends or family that you think could benefit from this, it's all about information. It's all about getting it out there. So that's really the purpose of this. So we thank you for your time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we do look forward to seeing you when we get back to business, and we're hoping that's next month, God willing. Chris, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you very much for closing it out there, and I appreciate everyone for attending today's session. We'll be sending out a follow-up email to everybody. This is our 2nd time doing this, so by all means, we're open to any and all types of feedback. So when I reach out to everyone, feel free to share that with me. It is much appreciated. And I'll also be contacting everyone about next week's Lunch and Learn and what the focus will be and the login details for that.
And for the Lunch and Learn next week, I should give you a sneak preview because we're really excited about that one. It's actually covering 3 areas. So we're going everywhere from basic powder room design, and you'll have a chance to see more of the decor center, to main bath design, to then what we call spa bath design. So it's really covering 3 different elements. And then the 4th session will follow, which will feature walls, and it's a lot more than feature walls. More details to follow on that session as well. Folks, we thank you for your time.
All right. Take care now, everybody.